Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Player Zone channel. And after a boring week and a half, we are finally back with Premier League football. It is a Premier League predictions for Matchweek 9. Can you believe we are all the way here to Matchweek 9 now? Some massive games last time out. Some good predictions for me, but not quite good enough. Hopefully by now you know our prediction point system. I came into the last game week with 50 points and ended with 57, so back-to-back 7-pointers. I nailed all the predictions for all of Saturday, and obviously got the Arsenal result right, but those three other Sunday fixtures I fell short, a few draws that I didn't expect happening. So I was impressed that I got some really good predictions, really close predictions from the last game weeks. I'm in some decent form, but I want some more three-pointers. And just to remind you all, to keep you up to date, a three-point in our prediction point system is when you get the scoreline exactly correct, you obviously get 1 point for a correct result and 0 if you get it totally wrong. I have high standards of myself, 57 points so far after 8 game weeks, not too bad at all, but hopefully I'm going to nail a few here in game week 9, some massive games from top to bottom, some rivalries, and some great sort of European football battles going on. So really excited for this game week. Make sure before we get into it, guys, if you could like, subscribe, share this channel. We're growing at a nice steady rate at the moment, but would love to have another video here to get some great support. So it would be much appreciated. Let's get straight into the predictions. Our first game for the weekend is one of the more exciting ones. It is a Merseyside derby. Liverpool at home hosting Everton. And just to touch on Liverpool, what a great start to the season they've made. On the podcast, we said this week, we reviewed our ladder predictor from the start of the season. And I had Liverpool high up the table just because I trusted in Jurgen Klopp and I trusted in this new structure they're going with. And I said it basically every week, but this attacking trio in the midfield, whether it be Curtis Jones in there, whether it be maybe Bacetić going in there, even at times Scotty Gakpo early in the season, pairing up with Dominic Szoboszlai and McAllister. It's just so much chance creation that teams just cannot handle them at the moment. And we saw that against Brighton. They played arguably the better football throughout the game. For more portions, they were the better team. And Brighton struggled. Both teams sort of shot themselves in the foot with errors, and Liverpool probably the more frustrated of the two teams because leaving a free Lewis Dunk to tap a goal home there to make the game 2-2 would be very frustrating. I think Jurgen Klopp would be furious because they've had a great game away to Brighton, one of the harder places to go at the current point in time, just because of the form and the style of football that Brighton play. But it was a great spectacle in the eye. I watched that game as a live watch along, and it was a game that at times sort of went to a bit of a ball when Brighton were in possession, but whenever Liverpool got on the ball, they're so aggressive, they're so attacking, they're so dynamic that you always thought something was going to happen. And Mo Salah with a double in this game, very impressive. His form continues to be incredible. A goal and assist in basically every game but one, I think, now in the Premier League, standing out early on as a maybe potential PFA Player of the Year nominee 100%. And just goes to show how good Jurgen Klopp is as a manager. He's reformed the style of play they go about. They're now playing more chance creation style of football than a more workmanlike defensive counter-attacking style of pressing style of play, and it's worked wonders so far this season. And Salah and Nunes and Gakpo and Jota and all these guys up top, when they get the opportunity, they're getting more opportunities now and they're putting those goals away. So they're just a team that will blow you away, and I think they'll blow away Everton in this game. Obviously Everton were very impressive last time out against Bournemouth. A clinical sort of performance, putting 3 past them, totally outplaying them from start to finish. And a key thing I want to touch on about Everton is just the performances of those sort of dicey type players. He's made Doucouré now a second striker, and he's scoring in every game, it feels like, and scoring for fun. We've got Dwight McNeil sort of getting back to his best. James Tarkowski's looking very good. And they've just found a way at the moment. James Garner's playing a great role in that sort of number 8 role as a holder without possession, and then someone who can spring the counter attack or spring some fast break movements when he wins the ball back. So there's a clear sort of dice system there. Can it keep up with Liverpool? Absolutely not. I don't care how far deep they sit. Liverpool got so many chance creators and goal scorers all over the pitch. I think they'll run right in this game, especially at Anfield, especially with the derby. I just think it'll be a blowout. I think I got Liverpool winning 4 goals still in this game. Everton will try their best, but Liverpool will huff and puff and blow the Everton door well and truly down. Our next game takes us to the south. It is Bournemouth hosting Wolves. And maybe the Gary O'Neill shield, maybe in this game. Obviously, Gary O'Neill was let go after being a temporary manager at Bournemouth last year and absolutely saving them. And now coaching Wolves, and he's doing a great job at Wolves as well. But I think Bournemouth are kicking themselves. They don't have Gary O'Neill there at the moment. For Andre Iraola, I love his management style, I love his style of football, but it just isn't quite working currently at Bournemouth. And I touch on it a lot with Burnley, but we need to start talking about it with Bournemouth. When is it time you're going to have to sacrifice your style of football if you're Andre Iraola for results? Because so far this season, Bournemouth are one of those teams without a win. They've played some good football at times, but haven't been good enough over the 90 minutes. And getting beaten 3-0 to Everton says a lot, because Everton are a team that are yo-yoing about a bit. They're not the greatest of teams. The quality isn't quite there. And I'll even say that Bournemouth might have some better quality players than Everton. So to go down like that, I was very, very disappointed with them. I put a lot of faith in Bournemouth early in this season, and it has not been rewarded. But I'm once again going to go blindly into this game and back them in. I know they're 1 or 2 winless teams, and it doesn't seem to be clicking at the moment, but I feel like this weekend, after the international break, can be a chance for them to break the shackles and to get a result on the board. I don't think it'll be a win, because we've seen how good Wolves have been. You touch on them. They beat Man City 2 weeks ago. Huang's in the goals again, it seems. They got a massive draw at home to Aston Villa as well, so 2 back-to-back great results at home. Finally getting reward for effort, what it seems, with some really, really disappointing results at the start of the season. Just being unlucky at times against Manchester United as the key one that stands out. But also, I guess, not getting that reward they probably deserved early in the season in multiple games. It's finally coming their way. They're finally getting that output. Even think about that Luton game where they got robbed 3 points there for a dodgy handball. We know what Pedro Neto is doing at the moment. They're currently the top Premier League assister. He creates chances, he scores for himself, he assists for others. Huang's in the form of his life. Hopefully he can keep that form going. But from a Bournemouth standpoint, back at home, a chance maybe just to get on top early, use that home crowd, get the home crowd right in behind you. I think it's got a 1-1 draw written all over. I think there's 2 teams right now that are not flurrying with goals. Wolves obviously the better of the 2 teams on current form, but I think it's a chance for Bournemouth to try and get back at some of these teams around them, like the Wolves, like the Evertons as well, and try and bridge a gap here, because you don't want to lose this game as well, because they'll be starting to separate themselves and be adrift as a part of that bottom 3. So a big game for Bournemouth and a big game at home. So I think they'll get a result here, a 1-1 draw. Our next game takes us to London. It is Brentford hosting Burnley. Another two teams that are quite funny at the current point in time. Brentford in particular, heartbreak last time out against Manchester United. Scott McTominay's double in added time. Made sure they lost that game 2-1 after playing a really, really solid away sort of style of football where they sat in with that 5-back, took a lot of pressure, allowed Man United to have a lot of dead, meaningless possession side to side outside of their box. Big shout out to Matthias Jensen with a great goal, but great midfield battle and competitiveness in there. Ethan Pinnock was a superstar at the back for them. And I just feel like right now they're just not getting things going their way. I got to question Thomas Frank's styles a little bit here. They're switching from a 4-back to a 5-back a lot. And I think against this Burnley team, they'll probably go back to that 4-back system. Can this really work in a team when you're constantly changing formations? And obviously you lose Rico Henry to basically a season-ending injury. That hurts them as well. And currently the front line isn't quite producing the goals we expect from them. The Mbeumo, the Visses, all their goals are dried up. They're missing Ivan Toney at the moment. Kevin Schade hasn't been able to participate in recent weeks, and it all sort of come to a bit of a halt for Brentford. And like Flynn said, my mate is on the away days show and we'll be on our live watch-alongs. He analysed it really early on. He said Brentford are a team that loves teams coming at them so they can play on the counter-attack, because Vissa and Mbeumo and these sort of pacier players like Kevin Schade are always better in the counter-attack when they can get in behind defences with a high line, or teams that like to play in possession can spring the counter-attack on them and get these sort of easier finishes, because in possession, especially with their midfield, probably not having the quality of many other Premier League teams, they're great workman-like players, and I love those midfielders in there because they work so hard. But the Norgards and Jensens of the world don't create as many chances and as good a chances as other teams in the Premier League. So they require a team to come at them so they can counter-attack. Because right now the goals just don't seem to be coming in games where teams are not as expansive as them. And in this game, they might get lucky with Burnley, because Burnley continue to play expansive brands of football, but it's hurting them. We saw them getting smacked up by Chelsea 4-1. We've seen them lose some bad games into Manchester City, and beaten pretty badly early in this season in other games as well. But it just seems at the current point in time, Vincent Kompany is going to die by his own sword. He's going to keep playing this expressive, expansive style of football and push Burnley and try and make them that sort of team that can play in possession, that is on the front foot. But again, against a Brentford team away from home, you're playing into Brentford's hands. They've only got the one win this season. We know how good they are at home, so don't go and be expansive. I hope we don't see that from Burnley. If not, it'll be probably a nicer game to watch in the eye. But right now, Burnley are sort of slipping adrift of some of those sort of mid-table teams and joining that relegation scrap, which I didn't think they would quite be in. I thought Vincent Kompany could get it sorted and could adapt from game to game, but right now they are really struggling. And for me, it's going to be Zeki Amdouni and Lyle Foster who are going to be the goal outputs for them. Those two have been very, very good this season. Obviously not the output like others in the league, but I've been very, very impressed in their style of football. They've capitalised on any chances they get, and are truly going to carry the front line for Burnley, especially because chance creation hasn't quite been there so far for them this season. They'll hopefully build into the season with more games and more experience, but it might be too little too late. So hopefully they can get some wins early on. In this game though, like I said, I think it will just play into Brentford's hands. They're desperate need for a win. I'll get them win this game 2-1 at home against a team that'll probably play a high line. I think they can exploit Burnley, and Burnley right now just cannot seem to get it right and cannot seem to get big results when they matter. Our next game is going to be one of the more exciting watches from Saturday. It is Manchester City hosting Brighton, and we all know what's been going on in the news right now with Manchester City. Back-to-back Premier League losses for the first time since 2018. Pep Guardiola has been ruthless and relentless in the Premier League, but are we, first starting to see, number one, the value of Rodri in this team, but secondly, a bit of that fatigue over so many years of dominating. They've won the treble. Is that motivation starting to slowly sort of fall away? Because in the game versus Manchester City, they just looked toothless, and Pep at times had 5 centre-backs on the field. He had Stones, Akanji, Ake, Ruben Diaz. I consider Walker also a centre-back as well, and you had all these guys on the pitch, and they couldn't get it done because they had so much defensive presence and too little midfield domination. I don't think they got outclassed in the midfield, but without Rodri there, it feels like the midfielders don't feel like, and I guess to a lesser extent the fullbacks, can bomb on as much and be more expressive and expansive because they don't have that holder there that can do that job. Kovacic tried it, but he was on a yellow really early on and probably should have been sent off early in that game. You see the midfield balance just totally disappears when Rodri isn't there for Manchester City. Albeit Kevin De Bruyne would have been massive in that game as well, but we've seen Julian Alvarez do a very similar job for him in the number 10. But it's the unwritten stuff that Rodri does, the ability to break up the play, the ability to get the ball and get his team going forward, to pop up for a goal and really important goals at important times. And he just feels like he's that piece for City that keeps them all locked together. And it'll be another game here where he's missing through that suspension. So going against Brighton, who were a team that could look to try and capitalise on this, can look try to make the most of the shortcomings of Manchester City at the moment and their inability to get in form. They haven't been playing bad football by any way it mattered the fact, but at the moment they just can't seem to score enough goals. And this is funny from a team with Erling Haaland, Julian Alvarez, Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, all these sort of great creative attacking players. But right now the imbalance in that team is clear to be seen. There is so much focus on the defense. The defenders are strong and powerful and they're good to keep clean sheets, but against the Brighton side, it would be great in possession as well. How will this all work out? Because this game, for me, is going to be won or lost in the midfield. Brighton's midfield, despite it changing every game, is always so solid. They're so solid in possession. Whether it be Jason Steele in the goal or Verbruggen, there's always so much ball-playing defenders and goalkeepers that allow them to just play that possession style of football. They bore people and teams out of games, it feels like at times. And I feel like in this game with Rodri out, there's a chance for Brighton to go to the Etihad and control that midfield battle and potentially get something from this game. And there's not many times you'll go and say that against Manchester City. It'll be a very, very tough game. As I said, a lot dominated in between the thirds. There'll be a lot of side-to-side possession and trying to break teams down, force them to make the mistake. And I guess on that, before I give you my score prediction, I feel like Brighton, we're starting to see a few cracks and it's all becoming because of mistakes. And Brighton have played some really, really great football this year, arguably up there with the top 3 in the Premier League. But what's hurting them right now and what's hurting them getting big results is they're mistake prone at the moment. They're making some big mistakes at big moments. I think back to Lewis Dunk in the Europa League, Estupiñán against Aston Villa. And then the previous game, losing the ball in midfield when Liverpool had the opportunity to counter-attack and score that goal for Mo Salah. So right now, it just seems like they're hurting themselves in games and they're their own worst enemies because they're playing some great football. De Zerbi's got them playing like absolute legends, like Barcelona-esque type playing. So it'd be good to see Guardiola versus De Zerbi ball once again. I think Man City being at home for one and needing that bounce back with all the history they've made by losing 2 games in a row, I think they'll get this result, but I think this game will be a 2-1 win for Manchester City and a late winner, because these two teams are going to be absolutely going at it for all 90 minutes. Our next game is Newcastle United back at home hosting Crystal Palace. A shout out to Newcastle playing very, very great football so far this season. Obviously, that massive result versus PSG merely a few weeks ago. The 8-0 over Sheffield United. And all was going well until last time out, where they came across the giant killers in West Ham United and got a 2-2 draw there. Obviously, West Ham coming with that late equaliser. It's not a really bad result, I guess. It's just that they've started the season quite poorly, that it feels like a bad result drawing away to West Ham. But I think West Ham will be a tough team for a lot of the top teams this season. They set up well to defend in deep, and they countered very, very well in that game. They're always very clinical up front. So despite it probably being a negative in many Newcastle United fans' eyes, I don't think it's too bad and not something they should be too upset with. The biggest thing right now for Newcastle is what's going to go on in that midfield. Obviously, Tonali, with all the gambling problems around here, is likely to miss. So we're likely to see, I guess, Sean Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes, and maybe Elliot Anderson finally join that midfield. He's shown some great signs in cup football and Champions League football and sporadically in the Premier League. And I talked him up in pre-season because I was very impressed with what he did. He might get a chance here with an extended run of the team to show his quality. The youngster's an absolute superstar midfield, can play the 8, can also play a bit deeper as well, but has got so much ability at his feet, and we would love to see him play against Crystal Palace team this weekend. And I guess the turnaround and fall for Newcastle, just finally touching on them, it's been seen in the wide areas. Like the Kieran Trippiers of the world are playing very great football. Gordon, who's reinvented himself since a poor season last year, has been very good. Miggy Almiron's back in the goals. And it feels like Newcastle's joy has been coming on the flanks. It's coming from playing high and wide. And with Gordon being back from suspension, and we know how good Trippier is, and Almiron's turn of form now, we could be seeing a very, very dangerous side playing with width, playing with pace, and playing with power. And they're going to be hard to stop. And Crystal Palace are going to struggle with that. Obviously, going away to St James's Park, the fortress that it is, having to deal with these sort of informed players, it's going to be a lot for them to deal with. They've had a decent few weeks, winning at Manchester United 2 games ago, but also getting a decent draw away. It was at home to Nottingham Forest last time out. So obviously some decent sort of 4 points in the last 2 games. They played some good football, much more expansive football under Hodgson. But for me, it's their poor first halves. They slow started to the game, and if they don't get in control early, Newcastle will start blowing them out in this game, especially with the quality and how the fans get right behind them. I don't think it'll be as much of a blowout as many people might think. I think Crystal Palace, with the likes of Ayew in there, Will Hughes, and their workman-like plays, and their even if Czech is playing as well, they'll get in there, they'll get the nitty-gritty stuff done, and will make it frustrating for Newcastle. There'll be a threat in the counter, as you always know, with a Mateta or Edouard, whoever's up front there for them. Jordan Ayew can join those attack. Jeffrey Schlupp, who tucks in, can go out and create some width for them as well. So they've got that attacking option there, and we know how good they are defensively with Mark Gahey and Anderson at the back there, arguably one of the top 3 Premier League centre-back pairings at the moment. So they've got the defensive structure there. We saw how they did that at Old Trafford and nicked all 3 points there. They've been very impressive for me so far this season, but it might be one step too far in this game. I think Newcastle will pip this game 2-0, but don't get me wrong, it'll be one of those great contested games on the weekend. Our next game, I'll wrap up quite quickly. It is Nottingham Forest hosting Luton. Obviously, Forest have been yo-yoing around a bit this season, currently in 13th with 9 points from 8 games. But most importantly, the 3 draws in the last 4 games. It's about time they finally get a win on the board. We're very unlucky last time out against Palace. We're probably the better side in that game, creating some great chances, but just need someone right now to put the ball in the back of the net. And the untimely absence of Tayo Awoniyi is going to hurt them, but against a Luton side, especially at home, Nottingham Forest are remarkably good at home. I think they'll get on top of them this game. I'm liking the all working like midfielder Mangala, Sangare and Dominguez, but for me, it just lacks a bit of that creativity. So it's going to have to be some individual brilliance from the likes of Alanga, from the likes of Hudson-Odoi, Morgan Gibbs-White, and looks like Chris Wood probably will be playing up front, or maybe you might see the introduction of Divock Origi from the start. I think they'll have too much talent for Luton right now. They've obviously picked up Andros Townsend to add a bit more Premier League quality talent, but right now they are so far off the pace. They can't play any sort of expansive football. They're playing within themselves. They're soaking up so much pressure and just don't have the ability to soak up that much pressure. They haven't got the ability of the likes of West Ham to soak up pressure and have the skillful players to pounce a counter attack. They haven't got that ability in the ball. So it could be a tough game for them. I think they'll lose this game 3-1, but it easily could be a runaway for Forest here and get their season kick-started for the second, for this sort of December time games. Our next game is the big one from the weekend. It is Chelsea versus Arsenal. The North London derby was a few weeks ago for Arsenal. They've had Manchester City last week, but now they've got the big rivalry, the Chelsea-Arsenal London rivalry. Starting with Chelsea, obviously we're getting their mojo back. They've got that 4-1 win over Burnley last time out, and the 2-0 win over Fulham following that. Previously to that, you've got Sterling back in form, Mudryk looking very good between performances internationally and also for Chelsea. It's Nicholas Jackson, the goals recently at Burnley as well. And they're looking back to that team that can do some proper things. And when you think about it and you look at the stats, it was clearly just a goal-scoring problem because they're in the top 4 so far this season for expected goals in the Premier League. So they create chances there. We know how good Gallagher's been this season. We know that Enzo can work his way into the season. And they're missing some big players like Caicedo, like Lavia. So that midfield is clearly just a bit underrun at the moment, but these guys who are in there are doing a really, really good job. And if you get Chilwell back fit and in form, and you get Reece James back fit and running around that football pitch, they've got such a great defensive quality depth with Colwell, with Badiashile's around as well, with Thiago Silva. There's so much quality talent in this Chelsea side. Robert Sanchez is starting to find his feet in the Chelsea team. They're getting their mojo back. They're playing some better football, and they're going to be challenging teams. But I think they just come up with finding their mojo in the wrong week. They come up against an Arsenal side, just beaten Manchester City, won away to Everton not too long ago, back in the Champions League and playing some good football, and are conquering all their sort of tiers to check off each week. And they're just a team right now that look like a winning team. They look like a Premier League title type team at the moment. It was a great win over Manchester City. I think they were the better of the two teams. They wanted to go out there and win the game, and they took their chance, right? Manchester City only had the 4 shots on goal in that game, and it just goes to show that William Saliba right now may be the best centre-back in the world. He shut down Haaland, he shut down Manchester City, considering they have Alvarez, considering they have Foden, they have Grealish, they have all these great attacking players, Haaland up there as well, and they only managed the 4 shots. Goes to show the quality of Declan Rice, William Saliba, Gabriel, and all the others in the back 4. And then also on the other end, to take the opportunity, I know it was a deflected goal and the like, but Martinelli to come off on the bench, take that opportunity and score that goal was so important. I guess the final point I want to touch on about Arsenal, they obviously missed Bukayo Saka. We can see that. There was a lack of width there with Gabriel Jesus playing out on the flanks. But if he's back this week, I think we can see a really, really rampant Arsenal coming off the good vibes of that 1-0 win versus City. And I think despite Chelsea's turn in form and being at home, I think Arsenal can get this win 3-1 in this game. We come to the next game, which I'll quickly wrap up as well. It is Sheffield United hosting Manchester United. And I think we can only see this going one way. Sheffield United right now are a team struggling, the lowest XG in the Premier League currently this current point in time, and just struggling for any sort of continuity and quality at the current point in time. It seems to be individual brilliance for the likes of Archer or maybe even Hamer at the moment to try and create something for them. And they've got so much injury problems at the back and in this team that there's no continuity, there's no togetherness, and there's no real good vibes at the club currently. They're destined to go down for me, and it might actually be currently the worst team in the Premier League. I know they've played some good performances against the likes of Tottenham early on this season, and they created a chance and they could have produced results. Even at Nottingham Forest, a chance for a draw there, but they've thrown away those results. And recently, that massive 8-0 loss last time around there against Newcastle United at home. They're just a team right now that just don't have it to match it with some of these teams in the Premier League. And you're coming into Manchester United side who were desperate for a win. They desperately needed. Obviously, the scenes around the Scott McTominay double to win against Brentford was massive, but it's not overshadowing the cracks of the club right now. It's a team struggling and desperately need of a win. Obviously, a big few weeks ahead with Champions League football, with Manchester City's and the Manchester Derby coming up next week. There's a lot of things that the club needs to get right, but slowly the cavalry is starting to come back from the injury. With currently no defenders fit at the moment, despite those ones starting. United obviously going to get players back, and I hope it will revitalise this group as they come into that sort of busy November, December period. But a massive game here against Sheffield United to get some form, to get some goals on the board, get Rashford back in the goals, get Højlund on the goals, get Garnacho, Anthony involved now, and try and make a turn here. Maybe post international break can be the turning point for Manchester United this season. Scott McTominay may have salvaged something from this season, and we'll have to just wait and see. I mean, this game got Manchester United winning the game 2-0. I think the quality of the players, the domination and possession will be too much for Sheffield United to contain, and I think this will be one-way traffic in this one. Then that takes us to our penultimate game, and for me, the most exciting game from the weekend. It is Aston Villa hosting West Ham United on the Sunday there. It's going to be a very interesting game. Two teams who play different style of football, but are both in very, very good form, and maybe a European battle for who can scrape into those Conference League or Europa League spots for next season. Obviously, Villa coming off a massive win 2 game weeks ago with a 6-1 win over Brighton, but follow that up with a 1-1 disappointing and frustrating draw to rivals Wolves. In that game, again, they created some great chances down the stretch, had opportunity to go 2-1 up, with Ollie Watkins hitting the bar there. Another chance, I think, Fulham McGinn as well in that game. But so far this season, I think they've conquered every sort of obstacle they've had going their way. I didn't expect them to be so good this season, considering they had Europe, had to balance all these different commitments, but they've been so impressive this season. Emery's got them playing some great attacking and aggressive and front foot style of football, and equally they've been strong and dominant in midfield. They've won a lot of midfield battles. The standouts this season have been Matty Cash, John McGinn, Ollie Watkins. These three guys have really stood out and been leaders on the pitch. They've been the one making a difference every game week, and a big shout out to John McGinn. He's basically run this whole Villa side, whether it be from midfield, picking the ball up, intercepting and setting up Ollie Watkins or the other forwards on the other end. And we know the former Diaby, he's been remarkable for them this season. So it's all right now really, really good for Aston Villa, but they come up against a West Ham team who are equally as good, but playing a different style of football. They sit in much deeper. They absorb pressure and then just bolt at that counter-attack. And the likes of Souček, Ward-Prowse, Paqueta when he's playing as a winger there, tucking into midfield, can create so much for likes of Bowen and Antonio on that counter-attack. And they've just got that system down pat at the moment. It is a proper David Moyes type system where they just absorb pressure, can pounce on the counter-attack and can hurt teams. And in this game, that could be a threat for Aston Villa, but I feel like Aston Villa's ability to score goals, score a lot of goals, and put a lot of pressure on defenses will just get them on top in this game. I think they've got them winning 3-1, especially being at home. I think they'll get the better of West Ham, but it could be a game where it could be sort of, if you could take your chances, you might win the game, because chances might be limited by both teams just making sure they don't concede at the back. And that brings us to our final game, and I'll wrap it up pretty quickly because it's probably going to be going one way. It is Spurs hosting Fulham. How good have Spurs been? They've got over this Spursiness. It feels like that late win versus Nottingham, versus Sheffield United. They got that great result against Liverpool despite all the controversy there. They got a 2-2 draw where they probably deserved to win against Arsenal. And obviously last time out against Luton, going down to 10 men at half time and playing for 45 minutes with 10 men, they still managed to get a 1-0 win over Luton. So they've got over that Spursiness, and it's a new identity, it's a new system under Ange Postecoglou, and boy, is it exciting to watch. It's our first chance, though, to see Spurs without Basuma. Well, I think this year it's either him or Maddison that'll be holding this team together. So it'll be interesting to see how they go in that midfield. Probably the likes of Højbjerg to jump in there and to fill that role. But I've just been so impressed with Spurs this season. They've been a team that outrun teams, outwork teams, they outscore teams, and they're just more aggressive on the front foot than teams, and just sort of, I think, overwhelm teams at times. I think Arsenal really got caught in that fact that that time they pressed well, they were fine in possession, they kept creating chances and put Arsenal under the pump. And coming against a Fulham team that have really been out of form as of late, they haven't got the goals in them. Raul Jimenez isn't the answer. Vinicius doesn't seem to be the answer either. In that midfield, it's so reliant on João Palhinha and Andreas Pereira to lift that midfield. There's a lot of things riding on a few players, and a lot riding on the ability to score goals. They're not a high-scoring team. They're a team that's not really easy to watch in the eye, and I think Marco Silva this season will just want to stay up at the current point of time, stay in that sort of mid-table sort of period. I think they're not playing the great football at the moment. It could turn around come January with maybe a signing of a new striker or a new winger to try and recreate something and create a spark in this team, but so far they look pretty flat. And when you come up against a team with like the likes of James Maddison and Heung-min Son, back-to-back Player of the Month winners there for Spurs, it's going to be a very uphill battle, especially at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think Spurs will absolutely dominate them off the park. I got them Spurs winning 3-0, and I can't see it going any other way than that. So ladies and gents, that brings the predictions for match week 9 to an end. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think I got them right? Hopefully I can get a few scorelines right this week to boost our predictions points through the roof. It's so great to have the Premier League back. I hate these international breaks. It ruins the great vibes of the Premier League. Don't forget, guys, we have got the live watch along for Chelsea versus Arsenal on Saturday night there. So make sure you come and join us for that live watch along. Once again, guys, let me know what you think of my prediction in the comments down below. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Share the channel with mates. Let's keep trying to grow this channel. And leave a comment down below to let me know how you think I went and how you think the Premier League has been this season. Guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Excited for the Premier League to be back. And I can't wait to get stuck into another weekend's action. With that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. See you later.